Dave Fleck. This broadcast has been a presentation of the National Hockey League and the Altitude Sports Radio Network.
It is a post-Game 4 edition, a winning edition of Between the Pipes. I am Mark Springer. Alex Ryan, who you just heard doing the network post-game show, is up in the hockey booth on the third level. He's running down to Section 136 right now, so I'll be with you. Here to start this show is the Avalanche blank the Stars. They shut him out. Mackenzie Blackwood, his first career postseason shutout. But that was not the main story tonight, though. Blackwood was good. Some big saves in the first period as there was some pressure from Dallas in the first period. But really start to finish, this was domination from the Colorado Avalanche. A night and day turnaround from Game 3 at home as the Avs outshoot Dallas 48-23 here tonight. The big story, though. Well, the biggest story is the win. This is the playoffs. You play to win the game. But within that win, the biggest story is Gabriel Landeskog's first NHL goal since coming back from how many knee surgeries? The cartilage, tear, all of that. Just under 3 years. And Gabe Landeskog with a one-time bomb in the slot from Brock Nelson, top shelf, beat Jake Ottinger. What a smooth stroke that was from Gabe Landeskog, and he had a good game overall. He played on the second line tonight with Brock Nelson, with Valeri Nichushkin. It was a good decision by Jared Bednar to elevate Gabe Landeskog into the top six. As you could see, he played on the third line in Game 1. And while there was a little bit of rust, you could tell he was poised, he was smooth, he was back, and he delivered in game number 2. It was an anticlimactic return for Gabe in game number 1. But this team, they rallied around Gabe. They rallied around the poor performance from game 3. I don't know who said what between Thursday night or Wednesday night. It was game 3 Wednesday night and tonight. I mean, it was a message was sent, it was received. They were far better. Hell, even Jonathan Drouin, who was demoted to the third line, he had a big-time secondary assist on Nathan MacKinnon's power play goal. Nice little spinorama backhand to the point to Devon Taves, who fed Nathan MacKinnon on the left side. That was McKinnon's 4th goal of the playoffs. And, look, Gabe has the goal tonight, but the two tone setters were the two stars. And Cale Makar had a ho-hum, a lackluster, certainly for his standards. In Game 3, you could call it a poor performance. That's what Cale Makar had. No, he was on one tonight. If not for Jake Ottinger, Cale Makar gets at least one goal in this game. He set a tone. Nathan MacKinnon set a tone. Those were the Avs' 2 best players overall tonight. And that's what you need. That's what you want overall is you want MacKinnon, you want Makar to be the ones who lead the way. Speaking of setting the tone, Logan O'Connor, shorthanded goal. As he strips Thomas Harley, one of the better defensemen in the NHL this year. Big, strong guy, and on the penalty kill, Logan O'Connor strips him. That's the opening goal tonight. It set this building on fire. As I'm going to turn Alex Ryan-Emmy's microphone on. He is now down at Section 136. Raj, how you doing?
Well, hi, guys. How are we today?
I think we're doing much better. Landeskog scores. Talking about the MacKinnon goal, the O'Connor goal, Cale Makar's strong play. It was domination. I think I said they outshot him 47-22. Jake Ottinger got the hook to start the third period. I haven't been able to look because I was busy setting all this equipment up down here. But was that just a wave the white flag pull?
That seems like it had to have been. Dallas knew they were done, and Ottinger had already seen something crazy like 37 or 38 shots through 2 periods. If I'm Pete DeBoer, I'm certainly doing that. I understand why they did it because you saw what Dallas was trying to do in the third period. They were trying to muck it up, trying to get as physical as possible, get some sort of edge going into Game 5, and why leave Jake Ottinger out to dry there? It makes a lot of sense for me not to play him. I didn't see an injury from Ottinger. He just got peppered all night long, and his head coach, I think, was trying to get him out of the game as quickly as he possibly could have.
Look, I was telling you as we were watching this game up where you were broadcasting from, and yeah, that game was 95% over after 2 periods when they pulled Jake Ottinger and went to Casey DeSmith to start the third period. It was 3-0 Avs. That game was 95% over. But that is loser behavior to just give up. Now, like I said, that game was over. But to admit it, to openly accept it, a 3-0 lead is not insurmountable.
No, it certainly isn't.
Now, it probably was. Don't get me wrong. But that to me, what message are you sending if you're Pete DeBoer? That you're quitting? That you're just giving up? I don't like that. If I'm a Stars fan, if I'm the Stars, I don't like the quit because Jake Ottinger was the only reason you were even in that game. Now, you didn't score. But it was the only reason it was 3-0 and not 6-0. Because, like I said, I mean, Cale has at least 2 goals. If not for Jake Ottinger. Phil on the text line. Shot Mazda text line, 303-504-0925, says Makar broke at least 4 ankles tonight. He had a play in the first period where he goes high to low. If he converts on that with a nice little nifty deke move in the slot, might be the second best goal of his career behind the overtime winner in Chicago. That's how dirty that move was from Cale. Ottinger was great. It's just loser behavior to me. You to wave the white flag like that in the middle of this series, saving him, preserving his stamina. I'm not here for that. I'm here. It's why I wanted Landeskog to play in games 1 and 2.
And he should have.
You play to win.
After what we saw today, and I'm sure you've already gone over this in the few minutes that it took me to get down from Radio 1 here to section 136 above ice level here at Ball Arena, it showed why Landeskog probably should have played in Game 1 or Game 2. It showed why he should have had more of a role in the top 6 and certainly on the power play in Game 3. The changes were everything today. Not only did it spark Gabriel Landeskog and spark the power play, it sparked Jonathan Drouin, who had a terrible Game 3. It sparked Cale Makar, who may have had his worst playoff performance in his career in Game 3. The lineup changes tonight were everything. They were physical. They were fast. They got to the net front. The goal that no one's going to talk about today is Sam Girard's goal, right? It's meaningless in the game. But the way that they score that is everything to me. Absolutely everything to me. They go low to high. They get a bigger body in front of the net, and they shoot and score through a screen and a tip. Sure, it goes through Casey DeSmith. Maybe it doesn't go in on Jake Ottinger, but the premise is everything to me. They were a team that was on the periphery in Games 2 and Game 3, even though they led for those games. They got to overtime in those games. You heard Jared Bednar in the post-game press conference saying, hey, listen, I've really liked how we played this series. Like, I think there's a thought process in that locker room going, like, we could be done with this series if we were actually a little bit more committed to playing in the middle of the ice and in front of Jake Ottinger. Everything changed when Jared Bednar made the astute lineup changes going into today's morning skate. It changed the series.
Well, it was really one main lineup decision. Well, 2, but they both involve Gabe Landeskog. it's moving Landeskog up to line 2. And the only reason that that's even questionable to do, and now we wouldn't have questioned it, but the only reason anyone would have questioned it is, it's his second game back from this intense knee surgery after 3 years out. Is he ready for second-line minutes? And it's putting Gabe Landeskog on power play 1, although that wasn't really a factor tonight. But, man, you saw Gabe, look, he's net front on power play 1, and you saw him occupy the right wing a little bit on power play 1. You like to say it's everything. I mean, Gabe Landeskog net front on the Sam Girard goal, that's what makes the goal. To have that, that is what Gabe is elite at, is being a menace in front of the net, whether it's screening, tipping pucks. Nobody's better. Nobody is better tipping pucks in front of net than Gabe Landeskog. Now, he doesn't tip this one. I thought live, I was like, is that Landeskog again? It would have been awesome.
He creates the chaos, though, and that's just as good as tipping something home.
Sure. Look, Jonathan Drouin is a smaller player. Having him on the top line last game with Nathan MacKinnon, and we talked about, look, I know that over, in recent years that magic of Drouin and MacKinnon, it's worked in the regular season. The Stars are a very physical team. So having Landeskog in the top 6 and getting Drouin, whether it's lines 1 or 2, out of the top 6, that was huge. Gabe Landeskog's ability to play top 6 minutes tonight is what won them this game.
I also think it needs to be pointed out, and we talked about this many times over the course of the last 3 years, of whenever or if Gabriel Landeskog ever returns to National Hockey League play, what will he be? And you guys who have watched and listened to Between the Pipes for now 7 years, it's amazing that we're going on our 7th postseason run together, Spring, have heard me say the worst case scenario for the Avalanche is this. Gabriel Landeskog returns to play, and he can play, but he's a fourth liner. Mm-hmm. He can play, but he's only a 10 to 12-minute guy. He doesn't really have the juice. He doesn't really have the speed to keep up. That would have been the worst-case scenario for the Avalanche. No, not that Gabe couldn't have ever played because, well, then you can replace him. The best-case scenario turned out tonight. A $7 million player turned up on the ice tonight and was worth every penny of $7 million. That is, if you asked me a year and a half ago that the Avs would get every, and again, it's very early, we don't know what a full 82-game season would be, but if you asked me a year and a half ago that the Avs would get every piece of value back on that player and that contract, I would have said you're likely crazy. Gabe Landeskog was a $7 million plus hockey player tonight, and he's the reason why you are now tied at 2. And honestly, you have all of the momentum going into Game 5.
Yeah, you do. And look, for the record right now, I want to say, after I watched Gabe Landeskog's second game with the Colorado Eagles, now before that, I didn't know if he would ever be $7 million a year, top 6 forward Gabe Landeskog. But after that game, I saw it. I knew it. So, look, I've been right about Mikko Rantanen. I was right with what I saw about Gabe Landeskog in the AHL. Oh, it's the AHL. Oh, he's playing against AHL players, Spring.
Still the second best league in the world.
It doesn't mean anything. I know what I saw, and he showed it tonight. And, I say that, Gabe was able to give him top 6 minutes tonight. He was a top 6 player tonight. But because they blow these dudes out, because the Avs blow the Stars out 4-0, Gabe barely plays in the third period.
And I love that. That's everything.
Yeah, and but of course he does still get an assist and a net front, screen in the third period. That's just how much of his night it was. He only plays 14:37 tonight. So you got top 6 production in 2/3 of well, he produces in the third period, but you only needed it for 2/3 of this game. So you spared his knee a little more. You're still ramping him up a little bit. And maybe that's probably the reason they don't play him in games 1 and 2. Number 1, no Robertson, no Heiskanen. 2, they're expecting to make a long run. So any anything we can save, any part of Gabe's knee we can spare for a longer run. Now, it might have bit them. Maybe they win game 2. There was maybe a little rust factor in game 3. But they've been able to manage his minutes, and he looks great. He's clutch as hell tonight. So not only did it work out for game 4, but it might ultimately benefit them in the long run the way they've managed Gabe so far.
Avs a 4-0 victory in Game 4 of the Western Conference quarterfinal. If you guys want to watch the Avs in Game 5 on Monday night with fellow Avs faithful, join us, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 at Stoney's on Lincoln. Spring and I are going to be hosting the party, hanging out the whole time, giving out a bunch of signed Avs swag, a couple of signed photos, and my grand prize, a signed Cale Makar hockey stick. Specials on Milagro Tequila, the brighter side of tequila. We'll see you guys at Stoney's on Lincoln on Monday for Game 5. You are listening to Between the Pipes here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. As a reminder for those of you who have been watching us on digital platforms all season long, we're just going to take a little 4-minute time out, and we'll be back in a few more to discuss the emotions that we felt when Gabe Landeskog scored his first goal in 1,042 days. This is Between the Pipes on Altitude.
Brock Nelson trying to make it not matter. Nelson, the need for speed. Landeskog! Yeah! Oh, Captain! My Captain! Welcome back, Cap! Gabe Landeskog! The Norse god of hockey has made it 3-0 Colorado! Oh, what a moment inside Ball Arena!
It means a lot. Obviously, I've envisioned scoring again for a long time. And then there were obviously days where I didn't know if I was ever going to get to score again. So obviously it feels good, and it's a tight playoff series, and in a big game here at home, get to do it in front of our fans obviously means a lot. So super exciting. Hopefully more to come.
A special thanks to our very own D-Mac, Darren McKee, for getting that audio in the post-game from Gabriel Landeskog scoring his first goal in 1,042 games, the first goal since Game 3 of the 2022 Stanley Cup Final. He has not played NHL hockey in nearly 3 years. Obviously comes back in Game 3. The Avs' overtime loss spoils that return. Mark Springer, as we welcome you guys back to Between the Pipes, I don't know if I've ever heard Ball Arena that loud when he scored today. The way that he scores, the clapper that goes top shelf, the magnitude of going up 3-0, knowing that you're tying the game, or rather tying the series at 2-2 pretty much then during the hockey game was everything. I got to level with you, dude. After listening to that crowd chant, I was teary. I cried a little bit. There is nothing like professional sports. There is nothing like live sports, and there is nothing like this comeback story for Gabriel Landeskog coming to a head this evening, and it feels like it's just the beginning of this comeback story, not the end.
Yeah, no, it's the beginning. He's sticking around. He's barring some unfortunate setback, and what a kick in the whatever that would be after everything he's been through. As long as everything stays steady, he's in for a heck of a rest of this series, and I'm forecasting beyond in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and then next year and beyond. He's back. The shout out to the surgeons, the doctors, the rehab, the physical therapists, Gabe himself for putting the work in, because he is back. He's, at least so far, not a shell of his former self. He is every bit the player that he was. And yeah, it was. I mean, the pop he got a couple nights ago in Game 3 during the lineup introduction was insane. Like, that was like Stone Cold in his prime, and the glass shatters at like a crucial moment. Like oh my God, like who's gonna save this guy from getting beat up? And out comes Austin, and this 90s crowd just goes insane. That is what the pop was for Landeskog when he returned in the lineup introductions in Game 3, and then the roar and the pop after he scores tonight was on par, if not better. Like, it was like this split second too of like, that thing went in, because it was such a quick, just one time bam, and it's like, oh my God, like that thing, it was almost like surreal. It went in. He did it. And I was telling you this when we were watching up there, it wasn't a cheapie. And we talked about his net front presence in segment 1, and
his goal with the Eagles was a cheapie.
It was. But granted, look,
net front presence.
Yes, and those are earned. But there's just something about connecting on a one-timer and going top shelf. The fact that was the first back makes it even better.
Our old friend Peter Baugh sent this tweet out about an hour ago. Even beyond the goal, Landeskog has been elite tonight. The Avs have 98% of the expected goal share with him on the ice at 5-on-5, according to Natural Stat Trick. They outshot Dallas in those minutes at 5-on-5, 8-0. Not only was Gabe part of the stat sheet, in terms of the underlying numbers, which is probably where you would have expected Gabriel Landeskog to struggle just a little bit over his first few games, because underlying statistics are all puck possession statistics, and how often you are honestly like not defending is how you take those types of expected goals fors and core size and Fenwick ratings and all that. Typically, for a guy who is expected to have lost a step or not be back up to par for NHL hockey, wouldn't necessarily fare all that well in those scenarios. The Avs were dominant tonight, all up and down the roster. Sam Girard was sensational. Josh Manson was amazing. Gabe Landeskog was, like, statistically, in terms of puck possession, like the third best player on the Avs tonight.
Yeah,
and he hasn't played in 3 years.
Because some guys just have it, you know, and it never. Even if the knee wasn't 100%, you just have it. Remember, anyone play at that level, that top tier level, but he would still be damn effective because he's just Gabe freaking Landeskog, and I think Miles Wood is a good NHL player. I think Kiviranta and Kelly and Ross Colton are good NHL players, but they're not Gabe Land. Like, there's something about, you know, when you've done it and you know it, you just always have this knack.
Well, yeah,
and this savvy about you.
You also forget, like, he was a number 3 pick.
Sure.
Or number 2 pick? Number 2 pick.
Number 2 pick.
He was a number 2 pick.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between Joel Kiviranta and Miles. Like, those guys were not number 2 picks.
Well, a lot of number 2 picks suck, but he was a good one. No, he's just – there's some guys just have a way about them, an aura, a certain intangible that you can't quite put your finger on. And we forget that when he had a great cup run in 22, he scores 11 goals, I think it was, in that playoffs. His knee's bugging him the whole time.
The whole time.
And he's like, what's going on? But yet he goes out and produces. So even if he wasn't at 100%, he would still have been a better option than some of the other options. And that is no knock on any of those other players. It's just the way of the sports world. You know, sometimes you're just on an upper level, like a McKinnon is, like a Makar is, like a Gabe Landeskog is.
There are certain moments in either a broadcaster's life or a fan's life where you remember where you were when something happened. I remember I can look over at section 142 over there, rather 146 over there, just over our right shoulder. I can remember sitting there when the Avs beat the New Jersey Devils in Game 7 of the 2001 Stanley Cup Final. I can remember that feeling when Joe Sakic handed the cup to Ray Bourque. I can remember the feeling when you and I, Spring, were here at a watch party in Game 6 in 2022 and running up and down the staircases, high-fiving people as we heard Connor McGahey and Peter McNabb count down the seconds to the team's third Stanley Cup championship. Tonight's a night where you remember where you were. And I did want to, it was emotional to watch that thing happen. It was emotional to hear this crowd's reaction. And honestly, I think it matters league-wide. I think the rest of the league is rooting for the Avalanche now. This story is impossible. Like, other than Stars fans, right? Other than a fan of a directly opposing team, how could the Avs not be your second favorite team in the postseason right now?
No,
Find me a better story.
No, I said it. I think I said this on the Blitz. This is one of the best This is one of the best comeback stories in sports history. And the only reason it's not, I feel like, not quite yet has it gotten that mainstream attention. Because sometimes the NHL lives in its own little world a little bit. But if the Avs continue to advance in these playoffs, this story is so good. And Gabe Landeskog, like, there's a reason, you know, he gets a documentary on TNT. Because not only he's a superstar. He's an elite player. He's marketable as all hell.
Yeah.
I mean, he's handsome. We all know this.
He's the nicest guy on
And he's
planet
also the
Earth.
nicest guy in the world. Gosh, watching some of that Clean Sheet documentary, yeah, he's the nicest guy ever. But he's extremely marketable, like someone that the NHL can put out there. And with this story, like if the Avs advance, this is going to catch on to a wider audience. And casual, not even casual hockey fans, but non-hockey fans who are sports fans but don't really watch hockey, but they'll watch ESPN or they'll see stuff on social media, and they'll be like, they're just going to be drawn in by all the different variables of this story.
I do wonder, and again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It's a 2-2 series in round one, and I still want to remind everyone, you're watching the Western Conference Final in round one right now. That's what you're watching. These are, in my opinion, the two very best teams in the Western Conference. It's a shame that this has to be a round one series, but that's what you're watching. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but let's think back to the 3 Stanley Cup championship runs that the Avs have been on, 1996, 2001, 2022. 96 has a special story, and that special story is what? The first team to ever relocate and win a championship in their very first year. That's a special story. They trade for one of, if not the greatest goaltender of all time in the middle of the season after he had won 2 cups with the Montreal Canadiens. He was a Canadian hero and unceremoniously basically gets shot out of a cannon into the sky by ownership and their general management. So that storyline is there. First team ever to win a championship in their first year in a city. 2001, we all know it. Raymond Bourque, one of, if not the greatest defenseman ever to play the game of hockey. 19 years in Boston. He comes over the year previous. The Avs don't get past the Dallas Stars. Can he win one in his final try in the league? They win it. It's an amazing story. 2022, I don't think, had that same story. They were dominant. I didn't see that type of, emotional storyline. The Avs have another emotional storyline now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, because of the Avs winning 3 Stanley Cups, and maybe in particular those 2, the 96 and 01, because of those more emotional ties that drew in the NHL audience as a whole, the Avs have that history, and that helps with this as well. Like, this is a storied NHL franchise now. And it's funny that it really happened, from the mid. This isn't an original 6 team, but because of the success that they had since moving to Denver, that helps with this as well. People are familiar with the Colorado Avalanche, and now here's this new kind of star. Even though he's not the best player, that's McKinnon, that's Makar, but the star of the story is Gabriel Landeskog, and he's right up there in terms of his playing ability as well. Yeah, no, it's an incredible story. It's going to draw people in. And also, I mean, if you're a hockey fan, if you're any other team and you're watching this series, now if you're a real hockey fan and you're watching this series, you want the Avs to win, not just because of Landeskog, but because Mason Marchment.
That's the biggest villain in the league right now, and Matthew Tkachuk went out of his way to lay Jake Gensel into the ice in a 5-1 hockey game 5 seconds after he moved a puck on a blindside hit. He's the biggest villain in the world right now in terms of hockey.
That elbow that he lays on Cale Makar.
He is, and you know what? In the third period,
so uncalled for.
In the third period, the immediate karma is what? The Avs scoring with 24 seconds to go in that first period. The Avs scoring with 4 seconds to go in that minor that he took. It was a boneheaded play for him to put his team down in a game where you could feel the momentum building for the Avs. Like, if I'm a head coach and I look at Mason Marchment, now part of his game is to be that type of guy, right? And guys make livings off of being rats. Matthew Tkachuk's a very skilled rat, and so is Brad Marchand, but 2 of those types of players, you make careers out of that. However, living on that razor's edge, if you are not as skilled as Bradley Marchand or Matthew Tkachuk, can be the difference between helping your team get a competitive edge and quite literally losing a game and losing a series, right? Marchment's a good player. He's not Matthew Tkachuk. Marchment's a very good player. He is not future Hall of Famer Brad Marchand. Now, it was a boneheaded play. The immediate karma comes back in period 1, and then the secondary karma in the third period when he tries to run an Avs player and then gets hit in the face.
Sure.
That guy sucks.
Yeah, and, we saw at the end of this game, and, man, to no surprise, I don't know who was on the ice.
What a loser.
Dallas mucks this thing up at the end of the game. They're on a power play, and they don't even care. Oh, yeah. I mean, Wyatt Johnston's right in the middle of it. He gets called for roughing on Devon Taves. Oh, that's why. Excuse me. That's not Mason Marchment. That's Wyatt Johnston. But still, that's what. Like when you're down 4-0, and you just got completely worked. That's what you do at the end of the game, and that's what Dallas. And the Avs don't really ever do that. The Avs have never really been that type of team. You know what's funny is after Game 3, I was thinking, man, do they need to be more physical? Do they need to pull a page out of Dallas's book? And be a little more, take some liberties.
A little ratty.
But no, they didn't need to do that. They just needed to up their skating intensity, which they did tenfold. It's odd, actually, how disengaged they were in Game 3. Like I said, it reminded me of the Kraken series, the home games from a couple years ago, where it's like you're watching these games at Ball Arena, and you're like, you guys are better than
Where's
this.
the energy?
What is going on? And that's what Game 3 felt like. But tonight felt like Avalanche hockey. It felt like everyone was locked in. Everyone was focused. And like I said, I don't know if it was the emotions, and maybe that creates a little bit of a distraction of Gabe returning in Game 3. You would think that it would be a rallying cry.
That's why I was so upset after Game 3. You guys heard me go on my rants on
Sure,
Between the
we
Pipes.
talked-
You heard
we
you heard me
talked
go
about
on my
this.
rant the next morning on Morning Sprint, man. I was upset, and all I called for were these changes, and they made the changes. Like, and people were like, oh, yeah, Jared Bednar's a bad head coach. Like, look what he's done with this core in 8-9 years. He's only gotten past the second round once. Shut the heck up, man. The guy went 16-4. He played 20 games, coached 20 games en route to a Stanley Cup championship. He is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 coaches in the NHL today. Does it mean he is immune from making mistakes? No. But you know what great coaches do? They make adjustments. And that's what Jared Bednar did tonight. He made an adjustment, and he changed the series. Bravo to Coach Jared Bednar. Bravo to these players. That's how you win playoff series. That's how you win Stanley Cup championships.
Well, and the adjustment is able to be made because Gabe Landeskog was able to, and if needed, like if this game was tighter, if it was closer, then Gabe would have played more in the third period and would have played something like 18 to 20 minutes tonight.
Probably around there, 16 to 18.
And the fact that he would have been able to do that is why Jared Bednar was able to do what he did and just gave second NHL game back the ability to not hide him or handcuff him or coddle him. And granted, it's coming out. These words aren't perfect, but coming off of that major knee surgery, take it slow with Gabe. The fact that they were able to kind of put him in the deep end in Game 2 because that was the adjustment. This hinged tonight on Gabe's ability in his second game back to be a top 6 forward. Now, like I said at the start of the show when you were walking down here, Raj, the tone setters.
We just need to do like a little zip line from all the way up. You know how much fun a zip line would be from Radio 1 all the way down here?
Yeah, that'd be a lot
That
of
would be
fun.
unbelievable. There's enough wiring here to make that happen.
Just don't hit that net, that protective netting above the glass,
like a mosquito flying into the light on a summer's eve.
Splat into the screen door on the patio. The tone is set. Like I'm telling you, McKinnon and Makar set the tone in this game. They were bats out of hell and clean and crisp from the start. Those two set the tone. I thought Brock Nelson had another very good game. He was probably my outside of McKinnon and Gabe. I'd go Nelson number 3 as far as top 6. I thought Marty Necas had a pretty clean game, pretty good, pretty active, and he'd been down a little bit. Like, we were talking about, Drouin probably needs to come out of the top 6. The next candidate probably would have been Marty Necas, the way he's played in this series, but I thought he bounced back. I thought Lehkonen had 6 shots on goal in this game. Arturi Lehkonen had 6 shots on goal. Joel Kiviranta had 5 down on the third line, up and down. And then, there is so much love coming in for Logan O'Connor on the text line tonight.
There simply wasn't a bad Avs player tonight. There simply was not. And if you, again, look at the underlying numbers from Natural Stat Trick, the game score from Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic, it goes this way. The number 1 game score for the Avalanche today, Sam Girard. Number 2, Brock Nelson. Number 3, Josh Manson. Number 4, Gabriel Landeskog. 5, Taves. 6, Makar. Your worst player in terms of game score. And again, it's basically a catch-all metric in terms of here's how the guy fared in terms of like how well you played when he was on the ice. The worst player that the Avs had today are Arturi Lehkonen and Marty Necas, and you just rattled off the fact that Lehkonen had 6 shots on goal. And I'm not saying they were bad. They were still very much plus players today. Bednar said it in his post-game presser. There wasn't a player I didn't like.
The fourth line, obviously Logan O'Connor's shorthanded goal. He's a shorthanded wizard. What a play to strip, to win a battle with Thomas Harley, who is a damn good defenseman, much bigger than Logan O'Connor. I think Parker Kelly's played well in this series, but to me, it's been Logan O'Connor and Jack freaking Drury.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Jack Drury on this fourth line. He scored in this series. He scored in Dallas. OC has 2 goals in this series, but goals aside, you can see the play of O'Connor and Drury. Those 2 are locked in right now. And the fact, man, how about, look, Necas, whatever a game score wants to say, and like you said, he was still plus. He was good tonight. Drury might have been even a little better. And Mikko Rantanen, what did he do tonight?
Oh, I can. You want me to take a peek?
Yeah,
at the,
let's look at his game
stats?
score.
I can
because
look at the
now,
game score.
it was Necas.
Ghost.
In the 2 months after the trade,
they are so negative.
Jack Drury is outplaying Mikko Rantanen right now.
Mikko Rantanen had a game score of -2 point something or 1 point something. He did not have a good game. There weren't many good Dallas Stars tonight.
Mm-hmm. It's just funny to me that Jack Drury Jack Drury, I'm going to outright say it, he is giving you more in this series than Mikko Rantanen is.
Well, hold on.
I'm telling you,
Hold
he
on.
is.
Rantanen is the reason why they won in overtime in Game 3.
He made a play.
Just like Drouin made a play today.
But I'm telling you, when you watch shift in, shift out, Jack Drury.
Yeah, I noticed Drury. I have not noticed Rantanen much in the series, which is crazy to say.
Yes. Just like on a per capita basis, Jack Drury is having a better series than Mikko Rantanen. And that was the secondaries, the fourth line piece of the Mikko Rantanen trade.
If you guys want to make sure you can get inside Ball Arena because the Avs have forced a Game 6, we need you to keep Ball Arena loud and be the home ice advantage. You helped lead the team to a huge victory on home ice tonight, and we need you for Game 6. Don't miss out. Secure those tickets now at coloradoavalanche.com/tickets. That is coloradoavalanche.com/tickets. We'll take one final time out here on Between the Pipes. Come back, let you guys know what else happened throughout the NHL, and get you ready for Monday night's pivotal Game 5 matchup in Texas. That's Mark Springer. I'm Alex Ryanemi. You are listening to the exclusive home of Avalanche Stanley Cup playoff hockey, Denver's #1 for sports talk, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
What do you look at as far as the lack of goal scoring? It just seems like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard series, but there's a bunch of guys who one goal would make a big difference for, it seems like.
It's 2-2. Who cares who scored the goals? It's 2-2 with 2 out of 3 left. It's who scores the goals in the next 3 games.
A salty Peter DeBoer after his team gets hammered 4-0 in Game 4 of the Western Conference quarterfinal. I think that comment was, pardon me, heavily pushed toward Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah. Look, you know what I think about Mikko Rantanen. You know what I've thought about Mikko Rantanen for a while now. And the Stars are finding out. Now, they are going to need... Do they have to play Miro Heiskanen in Game 5?
Oh, you might have to. He's day-to-day. You might have to play him.
Because now, if Gabe Landeskog is back, and we're not just talking like on the ice, no, he's Gabe Landeskog back. And all the trade deadline acquisitions that the Avs made, and they're all available. Really the only player of note out is Ross Colton. And now top 6 Landeskog is back. This is where it now becomes, if the Avs play their game and are focused and don't pull a Game 3. And you know what's funny is they lose Game 3, and I was thinking about this today. And they don't play well at all. They play terribly, to be honest with you.
They were not good in Game 3.
And they lost in overtime. Like, I was kind of like, it's kind of like really
They should have won it in overtime. There was a wide open net with Arturi Lehkonen, and it just happens to hit Esa Lindell's glove. Like they should have won a game that they played C- hockey.
You're right. They should have and could have won that game. Feels like they should have lost 5-1. Like the Avs beat the Stars in Game 1 5-1. But no, they lost by 1 in overtime. And that should also be a reflection of the Stars. That the Avs played, like you said, their C- game, and it took overtime to beat them, even on the road. And then tonight was just domination. You're without Robertson, you're without Heiskanen. Top 6 Landeskog is playing. This is where now the personnel, just the talent and the roster swings things. That's what this was tonight. It might force Dallas's hand to, if Heiskanen isn't 100% ready, rush him back a tick. I don't know, but they that's the point that they're at right now.
Heiskanen certainly feels closer than Robertson. I don't think you're seeing Robertson in the series at all.
I
think that is an LCL injury, and I have played through LCL tears. You can't play hockey on a torn LCL and try and be anywhere near effective. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. I don't think you're going to see Robertson. If I'm DeBoer, dude, you have to play him. You have to play him.
That's a must-win game for Dallas. If they don't win Game 5 on their home ice, then the Avs can close the series on their home ice for the first time since isn't it been like since 2001?
It's been many, many years since they've clinched a series at home. We did this a whole bunch over the past couple of postseason runs. I can't remember exactly when it was, but the last time that they clinched a series on home ice, I
think it was in the 2001 playoffs.
It's like 20 years. It's something nuts, man. It may have been Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final in 2001.
It might have been. Yeah, because it's insane how long it's been since they've clinched a series at home. Because Raj and I have talked about it before. But, yeah, that's the situation Dallas is in, is if they don't win Monday night, then they're going to come back to Denver in an elimination game after being up 2-1, but then after getting dominated in Game 4, potentially losing on their home ice. I mean, Dallas is going to need to make another adjustment. They were able to up their physicality a little bit in Game 2 compared to Game 1. it helped them win. Landeskog didn't play in that game. Now Landeskog's back. Now the Avs are clicking. I don't know what adjustment Dallas can make, save for just hope the Avs play poorly again or play Miro Heiskanen.
Here's your stat. The last time that the Avalanche clinched a playoff series on home ice was April 19th, 2008.
Oh, wait, okay.
In the Western Conference quarterfinals, the first round, Game 6 against the Minnesota Wild, they won 2-1. They got goals from, get this name, Ben Guite, had a shorthanded goal in that one, and then Ryan Smith had the game winner 12 minutes into the second period. Assist went to Tyler Arneson and David Jones in that game. The late Pavel Demitra scored for Minnesota in that game. In goal for the Avalanche was Jose Theodore, who made 34 saves on 35 shots against to win the game and win the series. They would go on to get swept in the next round by the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, this is a better team than that team, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That team
I think that Red Wings team won a cup that year. That was the year that they beat Sidney Crosby that first year, and they lost the second year.
Sounds about right. Man, with Landeskog back in the story and the emotional roller coaster that this has been, this is the time. This is the time to go take Game 5 and then have the Landeskogs, the Fighting Landeskogs, clinch a series on home ice. I mean, it was a moment tonight. There was a moment really in Game 3, just, with the return and, the first some odd minutes of that game. We could have 3 straight moments, even though one of them was a loss, but still, 3 straight moments on Ball Arena ice in this series in Landeskog's return.
All right, Spring, before we get out of here, some other games. 4-game slate across the NHL. One game was a blowout, much like the Avs and Stars. That was a 5-1 win for the Lightning. They dropped both games in Tampa Bay in the Battle of Florida to the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers. They get a 5-1 win tonight. That series is now 2-1. The Vegas Golden Knights, who had lost home ice advantage, get it back in Minnesota. They win 4-3. Ivan Barbashev gets the overtime winner. That series is now tied at 2. And then the 3-1 series. This thing is over, but the Toronto Maple Leafs had a chance to sweep Ottawa. The Senators stave off elimination. They get a goal from Jake Sanderson in overtime. 4-3 is the winner. They stay alive, but that series is pretty much over at 3-1 heading back to Toronto.
Well, one would think, but it is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Built to lose.
So we'll see.
I just want them to be built to lose in the Stanley Cup final.
Sure. No sweeps. No sweeps in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Every team has won at least one game in these Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been interesting. It looked like Edmonton was about to go down 3-0 on home ice against the Kings, and then they get red hot in the third and end up beating LA to cut that to a 2-1 series. Here today, it's road teams are finding success in the Lightning Panthers series, and then the return of Kirill Kaprizov has made this Wild Knights series very interesting.
He's a player.
Yep.
And there's a reason why through the first couple of months of the season before he got injured, his first of 2 injuries in the regular season, Kirill Kaprizov was the betting favorite to win the MVP this year because of how hot Minnesota was, how good he was. Kirill Kaprizov's a stud. They have Jared Spurgeon back and healthy. Joel Eriksson Ek is back and healthy. That is I think I had Vegas in 6 in that series or 5. I'm not convinced Vegas can win that. It might be a 7-game series. Minnesota is a completely different team with those 2 players, rather with those 3 players, than they are without them. They are not a threat without them. They are a very tough out with.
No, the return of Kaprizov, that's huge because Minnesota, they were ahead of Colorado in the standings for the better part of this season, and then Kaprizov got hurt, and they actually kind of held their own for a little bit, and then it just became a little too much, and they started to dip. But now that he's back, and then you look at what St. Louis is doing. They had a big win in their Game 3 at home. I think 7-2 over the Jets. So, this Western Conference, it's 8 teams deep right now.
Without a doubt, Spring, an unforgettable day in Denver playoff sports history. You get a last millisecond tip slam buzzer beater dunk from Aaron Gordon just a couple of hours previous to the Avs hammering the Dallas Stars, and you get a goal that blows the roof off here. It was an unforgettable Saturday. It
was, man. I didn't have a lot of faith in the Nuggets today, but as long as you got Nikola Jokic, you got a heartbeat. With the Avs tonight, I had a feeling that Gabe's second game was going to go differently. It was going to be hard for 2 in a row of Gabe's return to not be positive. And, credit to the Avs that you could see from the – now, they had a little – Gabe laid that hit on Mikko early in Game 3, but you could really see from the gate they had a different sense to them, and they didn't carry it for just the first minute or two. They carried it for the first 5 minutes, then the first 10 minutes, and they carried it throughout the entire first period, got them a 2-0 lead ultimately, carried it into the second period, kept the foot on the gas, really kept the foot on the gas in the third as well. So many times the Avs have gone into that prevent defense mode. They did play their top 6 less in the third, but the fourth line and the third line were still playing really hard in that third period. So it was start to finish. I mean, the Avs knew how terribly they played in Game 3, and they righted that wrong tonight.
Come on out Monday at Stoney's on Lincoln to hang out with an Avs viewing party. Myself, Mark Springer, Mark Bertinoli. We will be there live giving away signed Avs gear, a signed Cale Makar hockey stick, specials from Milagro Tequila. That is Monday night at Stoney's on Lincoln for a Game 5 watch party as the Avs look to take a pivotal Game 5 in their history as the Colorado Avalanche. They are 8-8 all time when splitting the first the first 4 games of a series 2-2. So make sure you guys get on out there, watch it with us. We're going to be hanging out. We'll have 1 beers with you guys as well. But that'll do it for KJ Granderson back at the NHL Tonight studios in Lone Tree, and Mark Springer, the radio machine, my partner, my co-host of 7 years, man. There has never been a night in our 7 years that I think I'll remember more than this one. It's either that or Game 6 of the Cup Final. This was special.
See, but Game 6 of the Cup Final, they were on the road. We were here at Ball Arena.
We were here, but they were on the road.
I would say, in our 7 years, Cale Makar's debut.
That was nuts. That was nuts.
Yeah.
I forgot about Cale's debut goal when we were sitting right there in that suite to our right.
But I think so. It's either Cale's debut in the goal or tonight. I'm actually going to go tonight because the comeback aspect just makes it too sweet.
I didn't cry when Cale scored. I cried tonight when Gabe scored. But for Mark Springer, KJ Granderson, I'm Alex Ryan-Emmy. Avs win 4-0. Series tied at 2. We'll see you guys on Monday live from Stoney's Lincoln starting at 7 p.m. Don't miss it.